Welcome to The Explainer. We're all hearing about the massive disruption AI is bringing, right? Well, today we're going to look at it from a completely different angle. So you've got thought leaders like Salim Ismail basically sounding the alarm. They're all pointing to this one year, 2026, as a kind of boiling point, a moment where if companies don't adapt, the corporate world as we know it could just collapse. It's a pretty stark warning. Okay, but what if we're looking at this all wrong? I mean, what if this giant AI tsunami isn't the end of the world for human value? This explainer is all about unpacking a fascinating idea that this whole thing is actually an unexpected and maybe even profound promotion for all of us. All right, so to really get our heads around this idea of a promotion, we first have to understand the sheer scale of what's coming. Experts are calling it a supersonic tsunami for a reason. Just to put this into perspective, think about this. 150 years ago, something like 80% of us were farmers. Now it's what, 3%? That shift took generations. We had time to adapt. But this AI revolution, it's like taking a century of change and cramming it into just a handful of years. Our brains, our whole society, we're just not built for that kind of speed. Okay, so here's the crucial part. This isn't just about AI taking jobs one for one. No, it's much deeper. It's about how this tsunami completely dismantles the very idea of a job as we know it. It's a great unbundling. You know, the physicist Alexander Wissner-Gross put it pretty bluntly. He said knowledge work as we know it is basically cooked. I mean, think about it. The whole service economy built on finding and organizing information. AI is getting ridiculously good at that. The entire foundation is being rewritten right now. And this is where it gets really, really interesting. Look at this breakdown. AI is taking over the cog role, right? The stuff that gives you an income, a routine, some structure. But what's left over? Well, that's all the deeply human stuff. Your identity, your sense of community, your purpose. AI can't automate that. And so that's the pivot point right there. Once AI starts handling the how of our survival, the day-to-day grind, we're suddenly left facing a much bigger, much scarier question. We're facing a crisis of meaning. Elon Musk actually talks about this a lot. He poses this really uncomfortable question. If you get everything you want, is that good? He warns about this WALL-E future, where we have all this abundance, but without a challenge, without something to strive for, we just become passive and, well, kind of useless. And that's the core of what people are calling the abundance trap. It sounds great, but it's a trap. Tony Robbins nails it when he says the one thing that makes us feel truly alive is progress. If all our needs are met without any effort, without any growth, we don't feel happy. We just feel empty. But here's the brilliant part. The crisis itself is the way out. It's the catalyst. Robbins sees AI as this massive wake-up call. A call to move from just surviving to something more spiritual. It's forcing us to stop just making a living and start actually designing a life. So this brings us back to that idea of a promotion. What's our new job description? Well, we're being promoted from just being cogs in a machine to something way more important. We're becoming gardeners. A gardener? What does that even mean? Well, think about it. A gardener doesn't do all the work themselves, right? They decide what to plant, where to plant it, and what a beautiful garden looks like. Our role is no longer about doing the task, but deciding which tasks even matter. We get to choose what we want more of in the world: beauty, truth, progress, and then use AI as the most powerful tool imaginable to help us grow it. And that promotion, it forces this massive shift inside all of us. We have to stop focusing on the external stuff. The paycheck, the job title, and instead, we have to look inward. The big question in our lives stops being, how do I do my job? And becomes, why do I even exist? It's a huge shift. Okay, so this all sounds great in theory, but is anyone actually doing this? Well, yeah. And that brings us to a really fascinating example of people who saw this coming way ahead of time, the founders of the Wisdom's Difference Makers Project. Get this. The people who started this project have over 150 years of combined life and business experience. And that's not just a cool number. That's the kind of deep wisdom that lets you see massive shifts coming down the pike long before anyone else does. They were basically preparing for this exact moment. And all that experience gave them this one crucial insight. They knew the biggest challenge with AI wasn't going to be the tech itself. It was going to be us, humans. How do we adapt? So their entire focus has always been on people and meaning, not just code. That's why they're called people-first system builders. And check this out. Their model is basically the gardener analogy turned into a practical playbook. It's super clear. The human, the gardener, is in charge of what matters. The big why, the meaning, the values, the grand strategy. In the AI, that's the tool. It handles the how, the research, the execution, the scaling. It's a perfect division of labor for this new world. Okay, so we've talked about tsunamis and gardeners and playbooks, but what does this all mean for you? Like, right now? This might be the most important thing to remember. Fulfillment isn't something you can download or automate. AI is not going to hand it to you. What AI does give us is the time and space to actually go find it for ourselves. It clears out all the junk work, all the noise, so we can focus on what's truly essential. But that work of finding meaning, that's still on us. It's slow, it's conscious, and it's deeply personal. So, in the end, the real work coming in 2026 and beyond, it isn't about learning to code faster than an AI. It's not about competing with machines. It's about answering this one simple question. You've been promoted. You're not a cog anymore. You're a gardener. So what on earth are you going to grow?